Okay, the time is 18 minutes and 52 seconds to the start, and this is a sound test. I'm going to go to YouTube and make sure that this is working. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tour du Monde. Final running in slot 4. We've already covered slot 3 earlier today. I covered that with ZMS, Damon's stream, and I decided I'd like to try and ride a little of tonight's stage, but I'm not going to do so. Common sense has prevailed, but I am going to cover it in commentary. So I'm going to stay with the race and cover it till the end. Let's see if anyone can challenge this afternoon's race, where John Beams took the overall win, stage win, but only just from Henrik Mard, his teammate at Pedlars. Kevin Savello came in third with a 55-minute 32 ride, but the time to beat is 54 minutes 30 seconds. And I think we'll have some riders getting pretty close to that, if not beating it this evening. But we'll have to wait and see. I really do think tonight's edition there should be at least 3 or 4 riders looking at the rider list that form up and probably try to ride together. That was the plan for John, I'm reliably told this afternoon, but he found himself chasing Henrik, and the two of them decided to work together, and they very quickly got a gap. And because the chasing group, I don't think they thought they were going to stay out the front as long as they did, able to close the gap, and they were basically riding on their own for much of the race. So it was a fantastic race, I have to say. The chasing group did start to pull back towards the end, but they were never going to catch them. Now, I think tonight's race could be a similar kind of effort where we see a couple, 2, 3, or 4 of the stronger riders going off the front and staying away. And this course really lends itself to that kind of ride. That first climb is long enough to sort of sort out, get rid of, when I say get rid, I mean that in a nice way, but get rid of the non-climbers, and then the steady long uphill until we hit the hairpins is enough sort of like to see the group being whittled down and whittled down until only the true climbers are left. And we saw much of the same thing, as I say, when we covered the 12 o'clock GMT running at lunchtime. Very interesting race. Didn't quite pan out the way I expected it would, because I genuinely thought that there'd be more than the 2 riders up the front and that they wouldn't possibly stay away. But no, the group allowed them too much of a leash, and once they got up to sort of like 50, 60 meters, they were never going to get caught. So there's a warning for you tonight, folks. Don't let any riders get a half decent gap, otherwise they're going to be away and they're not going to get caught. Keith from OTI, you can see him in the comments. Keith's not racing tonight. He's simply in the in the kit van with looking after, I think it's Tony is looking after from OTR this evening, so giving him a bit of encouragement and a bit of help. But we've got a very strong OTR presence, as you can see from the lineup. We've currently got 44 riders online. We had 106 online at lunchtime. So a pretty good turnout for this evening. I didn't expect it to get anywhere near this afternoon's figures, but this is still a very good turnout for the race. And good luck, everybody. I'll try and stay non-biased with my OTR teammates, but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing how Casper Hedidem gets on tonight, along with Gavash and James Melville and a few others. So we'll see. And a big shout out to Peter Brook-Varvel from OTR, because he had a fantastic 4th place this afternoon. So let's see if we can get some OTR boys up near the finish, please. And away you go, lads. Have a good race. Look forward to seeing you. Now then, is it going? Is it going to? I should be a virtual, so it could be like a trainer not working. This, this is okay. Let's get to the front of the race. There we go. There's the front of the race, but I need to find out why I'm not. So just bear with me, folks, while I try and find out. Maybe I'm gonna have to jump on every 30 minutes. It's going to be a real pain if my thing isn't working. I need to just jump back to myself, unless I can pull it up. Yeah, let's. I'm not in front of the microphone, folks. I'm way to one side on the bicycle, just trying to make sure that I'm not kicking face. My virtual trainer doesn't look like it's working. Okay, let's go home. There we go. So yeah, it does appear it's now working. So let's get back to the action. There we go. I should be game now, but I will check at the 30-minute mark to make sure that I'm still racing. Okay, so what's happening at the front now? It starts with a gentle slope, as you can see. We're on 2% at the moment. A bit of a gentle slope. Then it goes downhill slightly until we get into the first climb. So the riders should be hitting the climb. Well, they are doing. Here we go. They're hitting the climb now. And so expect this to be the sort out. You're going to get the likes of James Melville, previous winner of the Tour du Monde, don't forget. So James is very much a class act. And my guess is he will take a few riders with him. Gavash is up there. Expected to see Gavash. Where's Hedidam? Oh, Casper's out front. There he is. Yeah. Well done, Casper. And I really expect Casper, along with his team, and he's got a countryman, Feldballer, helping him here. They've got a 20-meter gap. So this is very, very similar to what happened this afternoon. Very similar. We got two riders breaking away right from the gun, right as soon as they hit the climb. And they very quickly got a 30-meter, 40-meter gap. James has joined them. Now, I did say that I thought maybe four riders would form up at the front. And here we can see there's four riders strung out with the pack chasing close behind. Can Gavash get on to James's wheel? And can James join these front two Danes? We'll have to wait and see. But this is definitely the break, folks. This is going to keep. They're going to keep this going. They're not going to ease up and allow the group behind to catch, because they're both in the red, as you can see, above threshold efforts. So expect this to continue. This push. Already 62 meters, almost an identical running to what we covered this afternoon. And in fact, they're probably pulling out the gap a little bit quicker than we saw earlier. So now I called the tactics almost perfectly earlier on today when I said that I thought the leading time by Lundqvist set when the stage was run this morning at 6 o'clock GMT. I did say that the 54.42 that Lundqvist set would not be beaten by much. I did say it would be beaten, but I said it would only be beaten by seconds and not by minutes. And that proved to be the case, because John Beams was able to overhaul it by just 12 seconds with a 54-minute 30 ride, as opposed to Lundqvist's 54.42. Now, as far as Casper goes, if Casper does beat that time, I still think it will be a 54-minute ride. I don't see him taking significant time out of John Beams and Henrik Mard's time. He may well overhaul it though. And if he does, I do believe there are points on offer for extra points on offer for the top 3 riders. So he could get the time bonus as well, which John Beams got today. So we'll have to see what happens, but they've already got a huge gap here. These two are definitely not going to get caught now. I can state that even this early into the race, because this is the same way it played out for me earlier on today. So these two riders are away, and are they going to work together as Henrik and John Beams did? We'll have to wait and see. Casper's definitely looking the stronger rider, without a doubt, but he is going, he is going above threshold, so he needs to be careful he doesn't burn all his matches too early. I don't think he will. He's a very experienced rider, knows what he's doing, and don't forget, he's a stage winner in these tours, so I think he knows what he's doing. And like I say, I do believe that Casper will be very close to the time set this afternoon. Okay, we're watching these two. They've now got a big gap, so let's go further behind and see what's happening. We've got James, Gav, and who's that with them? Bringsgaard. So these riders here would do well to try and stay together, but they must push the pace up if they're going to stand any chance of pegging back the 200 meters that the two leaders have now got. So there you can see Bringsgaard, 5th place. Let's work his way back one at a time. Walker from OTR, he's doing a good ride. Hope he can stay with them. Scott. Fuller just getting onto the wheels. He needs to do so. Make sure he doesn't leave a gap. And then Tony Simmons. Now, can Tony come across? How long? See if we can zoom out a little bit and see whether we can see Tony on the road, or is it? No, it's a big gap now. So what is it? 80 odd meters. So it's very likely that for the time being, this is going to be Group 2 on the road, and the riders behind, like Tony, this is Group 3 on the road. Zoom in a little bit so we get rid of the trees. We got Tony, Stanner, Naklown, and Barnett. Now we expected Barnett to be up at the front, Greg Barnett, but he's either been caught out or just hasn't got the legs to. He does look like he's a bigger rider, so he probably hasn't got the legs to stay with the true climbers. Tony's a class rider, but he's off the front at the moment. Okay, let's check a bit further back and see Jan Vanbers from Rasio, Paul Pudell. I mean, these are all class riders, folks, that have been dropped right from the gun by our two leaders. Be interesting to see what tactics these riders work between themselves, whether they decide to form up. I mean, if this group could join this small group in front of them, work together, but they're 240 meters behind, so I think nobody's going to sit up and wait for them. I don't think they're going to have the power to get across just yet. We see Johnson at the back of this small group being dropped off as well. We got Spencer in no man's land. He's 126 meters. Boob. And then my colleague Paul Nichols and Gordon Jackson, they're sticking together. Small group of 4. ball at the back. He needs to make sure he doesn't lose a wheel and hang with this group for a little while at least. They're coming up to the slightly easier section. I use the word easier tongue in cheek because it's not an easy climb at all. Never relents. It does get a little, you know, the terrain does level out a little, but it's constantly uphill. Very little respite from. Okay, and this is another small group chasing behind, another OTR rider. I think it's James Brown. James Brown there. I'm just very quickly, what are we, 26 there? Let's just make sure that these two are still together. Yes, they are. And look, they've already got up to 400 meters now. So what I was saying that they're not going to get caught holds true. They're definitely. Okay, let's try and quickly get back. What were we on? 26th place. Let's get back to about the 26th place. There we go. There's James Brown. And then let's have a look and see what's happening. What I try to do, folks, early on in the race is make sure that I see where every rider is on the to give everybody a fair share. This is a good ride from Newton. He's putting in good wattage as well, 4.5 watt kilos. Don't know her first name, sorry, but she's putting in a good ride here. And if she can stay with these riders, and there's Dose, and I should know that lady's name. I think it's Joe Dose. But they're riding well together with Floyter here. So yeah, they're looking really strong. They are on the slight downhill section, but they are looking really strong. Good riding. See who's behind them. Williams. Wagstaff. Belgian Van Luck. I don't really know an awful lot about Van Luck. He's a relative newcomer to my streams. Seen Krasinski before. Django. Who's that behind him? Hurst. Ian Hurst from 3R. Ian must be taking it steady because he is a reasonably strong rider. Furman. So these are the back markers, folks. Van Brekel's there, I think we saw, did we? Brekel, Lucent, Dutchman. Then Elliott from OTR. I wonder if Steve's had a problem. Aye. Underberg, another OTR rider. And he's on the steeper part of the climb, the 6% section, so why they're going relatively slowly compared to the other riders. Anderson, the Swede. And then we've got me. And Anderson seems to have pulled over to the side of the road. So at this moment in time, I'm the last rider on the road. And these two are working together, as you can see. Feldball is just taking over the lead at the front. They're on the 3.4% section. So, like I say, it doesn't really relent. It does get easier when they've got a green section coming up. But there's very little recovery because even the green sections are heading in the upward direction. Albeit not by very much, but enough to make this a tough climb. In 7.5 kilometers in, and they've got 500-meter gap. As I say, definitely not going to. Keith's telling Tony to burn a match, the bridge, and then sit in, and that's the correct tactic, Keith. But it's whether you have the power to be able to get across. That's the hard thing. Let's have a look and see what's happening with. So we've got Versik here, Gavash, Now, they're currently 540 meters behind, but these four, because there's Tony, he's bridged across. I really genuinely think that they're not going to get close to the two lead. They'd have to put in an above threshold effort for quite a long period of time. 500 meters doesn't sound a lot, but when you're talking about riders the class of Eddydam, and not overly familiar with Feldballer, but he does look a very strong rider along with his countrymen. So trying to close up. I mean, to be fair to Tony here, he is pegging it. He's pegging the riders in front to 550, but he's got his work cut out to hold that and try close the gap. But never say never. Got a lot of guts as Tony, so we'll see what he can manage to do. But he is falling further behind, and yeah, I just think it's a big ask to ask any solo rider, because although he's got the riders behind him, he's the one that's doing the pushing. He's not getting an awful lot of help at this time from, although James is now coming up to join him. Maybe James will get on the front and pull it along. Kingsguard needs to do the same. They can't just sit in on Tony's wheel and let him do all the work, because they're never going to pull up if they do that. And there's Tony just making sure he's raising got the work cut out as the two in front are opening up an even larger gap. Okay, let's work his way a little bit further back then. So, I mean, this is quite a big group, but only at the moment it was only Tony doing, and he's still on the front. They really should be helping him. Tony's got to be careful he doesn't do all the work and then, the other guys pull a fast one on him later in the race. Nice to see Greg Barnett has got across. So I said he was a stronger rider, and I was surprised to see him as far back as he was. But you can now see he's up into 9th place, and I think Greg Barnett will actually, if he's got the legs, he will definitely be a contender in this group here, this second group. So we'll see. Nice to see he's joined this group. He does look like he's going to move through it as well, not just sit on the back. Danner's been dropped by the group. He's 150 meters or 145 meters off that group in front, and he'll not get back to them. Sorry, but not going to happen. Yeah, and Keith is saying strong riders, Tony, let them do the work. That's spot on, Keith. That's just exactly what I've been saying. Tony doesn't want to do all the work on the front because they'll just kick the hell out of him later on in the ride. I know, I've been there. And poor, I think it's poor Nick Walker. He's in no man's land. 700 meters off the group in front. He's got a couple of riders. Well, he's got one rider that I can see. Johnson, is it? Yeah, Johnson. So he needs to get on Johnson's wheel if Johnson comes whizzing past, and they need to work together. Take a little bit of recovery. So Johnson needs to take over the front, which he's doing, and then Walker just get on his wheel. Yeah, he's probably listening to me because he's just given me a wave. Has he? I hope they are watching. They're both giving a wave, so maybe they are watching. It's really nice when we get riders following the stream as I'm live. So yeah, Jan van Bers. I expected Jan to be in that front group. But whether he was caught out, I did see some chat earlier that he might have had an issue, and that could be why he got dropped from the front group. Not the front group, the second group. I'll see if I can pull the chat up a bit later, the earlier chat a bit later. And these riders are 500 meters off as well. They're not time soon. It's always difficult on a long climb like this, commentating on riders that are sort of like lower down the field and there's like a 400-meter gap, because common sense tells me that they'd have to really go some close up a gap of that magnitude. But it's not out of the question, which is why I keep flicking backwards and forwards through the groups, because here you can see Paul Nicholls and Gordon Jackson working really well together. In fact, this group is working. Nice to see. Parks is helping out, as is Hall. So yeah, it's nice to see the group working well together. Gordon's strong, pulling off the front. And this is a group not far behind them. Now, if they could, this is James Brown and two other riders, if they could join with those riders in front, 80 meters ahead of them, so if they could pull that back and join up together, who knows? I mean, if it was a rolling stage, then, you know, the larger the group, the better. But on a climbing stage, yeah, with the zigzags coming up, a larger group doesn't necessarily mean they're going to close gaps, unless you've got riders really hammering each other off the front. Anyway, this is Ploiter. Now, we saw Ploiter riding with the two ladies. There's the two ladies. So, Newton and Dose. How far? Oh, Ploiter's pulled out a big gap on them. But these two are working nicely together. Joe Dose is putting in 3 watt kilos, pulling along Newton. So, 3.2 watt kilos. Not hanging about. Good ride, ladies. There's Wagstaff. He's not far behind. And if he can join them and help them, they can join together. And it looks like they may do. Like he might catch these two in front. There you go. Closing up the gap. Pegging it anyway at the moment. Just saw Joe Dawes putting a 4.8 watt kilo spurt there. Perhaps they don't want to get caught, but Wagstaff is. He's closing the gap. He's closing up on them. Within 10 meters of them. So he's going to join them. And the two ladies need to jump on his wheel if he goes past. Let's have a look and see whether he tries to go straight past them. There's Joe giving us a wave. So get on his wheel, work with him, get some rest. Get a little bit of recovery. You're never going to get much with just the free riders. Richard needs to pull him along a little. There we go. Newton's getting on his wheel. Come on, Joe. Get on the wheel. Don't let a gap appear. Okay, we'll go a bit further down the field. We'll come back to them. See how they override. Nice to see these two have joined up. Williams not far behind. Can he catch them? Ian Hurst seems to be in no man's land at the moment. He'll be riding his own race, as will Furman, although Furman's got Django with him at the moment. Is Dewson. He's in no man's land too. We've got Elliott and Van Brekel riding together. And Funderburg. Then we've got Anderson. He's currently Lantern Rouge. Okay, back to the front. And these two are still working together. So I suspect that they've sort of like sorted this tactic out before the start of the race. Much the same as John and Henrik did this afternoon. So yeah, look, you can clearly see the sharing There in the front. Jan Vanders. And I have some cheers, Keith. Yeah. That Feldball does look very strong, though, doesn't he? He's matching Casper's efforts here. If not, so it go to zero there. That been Casper just taking his foot off the gas, putting in an above average. Sorry, getting back on the. You can't do too many of those though. You've not got to lose attention and drop off the back, because when you have to close a gap, even if it's only 7-10 meters, we call it burning a match. You only have so many matches, so you can't afford to lose the wheel and burn matches. And I've spoken a lot about that in other broadcasts. Regular listeners will know my term burning matches refers to riders having to put in short, sharp efforts, usually above threshold, which is when they go red. You can see the figures going red. And that means they're working above what they can sustain for a decent period of time. And I refer to it as burning matches when they're having to close up small gaps or even large gaps. You pay for it at the end of a ride, almost certainly, unless you're head and shoulders, unless you're a class above, the riders that you're in the race with. And to be fair to a lot of the riders, like in this afternoon session and certainly in this evening session, you have got riders that are sort of like a class above the riders lower down the field. I mean, I don't think anybody would object to me saying that Henrik and John and a couple of others towards the front of this afternoon session were sort of like class above the riders way further down the field. And they showed that by pulling out the big gaps that they did. And these two are doing much the same. Although there's some very good riders behind them that may be a little bit surprised that they're actually not up here at the front. I mean, Gavash, Simmons and Linksgaard, and certainly James Melville. I think they must be a little bit surprised that, they're already out of the running for the top two places, because that's clearly going to go to these two riders here. They're not going to lose this kind of a gap anytime soon. And we've watched Casper ride and win stages in the past. I know he's a very strong rider when it comes to the hills. And Casper's the kind of rider that could well increase his effort even more when we get to the red section, deep red section, at the latter half of this climb. We get to the hairpins. So you can see the graphic on screen where it shows the blue dot. Well, that's Casper out front. And he's not far off the start of the zigzags. Now, the zigzags are fairly gentle at the beginning as we approach them. And the first couple are at a very easy level, but then they really ramp up to the 10% mark. So this climb today is more about its length and the fact that it doesn't really have much respite, whereas tomorrow's climb is super steep. It's a much different prospect to today, and it's going to be hard. After riders have ridden today, can they recover? I mean, I was speaking with John Beams earlier, and John's only worry is, can his legs recover for the steep climb tomorrow? And I think, of course, they can, because he's a class rider and he'll know what he's doing. But it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt tomorrow after a stage like today. 2 back-to-back. And don't forget, that's how the Tour closes out next week, and I think we've got two. In fact, I think we've got two mountain and then a hilly stage to end the tour with. So, or something similar. I will have a look later. Okay, we've spent enough time with these two, swapping the lead over, and looking at the gap that Feldbald's got at the moment on Hedidam. Hedidam will pull this back. I've no doubt they're going to work together. They're just pushing each other on, but they've got 750 meters now, so they're in clover, we say. It would be nice to see this group pull them back, but I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. And what you've got to consider is who's your money on out of this gap, out of this group. Like I say, I'm so pleased to see Greg Barnett get up amongst them. James Melville, Tony Simmons. Who's your money on out of this group? I mean, this is going to be a race within a race. This is going to be, it might even be more exciting than what's happening up front, because that's a foregone conclusion now. Whereas this, any one of these 7 riders could take. Who've we got? We've got Gavash at the moment. Get back up the front. Gavash leading them out. So what we got? Have we got 7 here? No, Versik's just slightly in front. So we got 1, 2, 3, 3, Klinksgaard, 4, Tony, 5, 6, 7 riders. So any one of those 7 could finish in 3rd place if they manage to stay together. And we've still got the steeper section to go. Is any one of these riders? There's Casper. Now Casper's been dropped by Feldbau, but there's only 10 meters. There he is. I said he's been dropped, and there he is getting back on. So I don't really think they're dropping each other. I think they're just pushing up the pace. It's already a 1 kilometer. They're making sure that they're not even giving the chasers a sniff, and that's really good racing. They don't need to work that hard, but they're making sure that there's no comeback for these riders. I mean, Versick is putting in a really good effort, but it's not going to be enough. James on his wheel. Now, maybe these two can break away from the 5 riders behind. I don't think so. I think the 5 riders behind will pull them back, and we'll come back and find out whether they do a bit later. Let's work his way back further down the field, because if I stay with one group too long, I'm going to take all the excitement out of it for you. So going backwards and forwards, and here you can see that Paul Pudell and his teammate Gordon, is it Gordon or is it Nick? No, it's Nick. Have really worked well here. Danner's pretty well in front of them, but they could, if they work well together, this threesome, who knows? They could possibly close the gap, and they're pegging it at the moment. In fact, it's coming down very slowly. So there's a chance that these 3 riders could pull back that rider in front. And then they'd be fighting for a top 10 place if they can, if they can sort of like latch on to the riders just in front of them. So all to play for. Possible top 10 for Paul or my other teammate here. We'll see. How far is Jan? These riders have dropped off, obviously. They were riding with Paul a little bit earlier. They've dropped off, and they're actually losing ground. So I don't see them coming back to the OTR boys up front. Paul Nichols' group and Gordon Jackson. 3 OTR boys in this little group. Let's see how well they can do. And they get into the 20s. This is the lad that left behind the two ladies, but how are they doing? Now, Wagstaff has opened up a gap on Newton and Dosey. There's Newton, and she looks to have opened up a bit of a gap on friend, yeah, Miss Dosey. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I think it's pronounced Dosey. Still looking strong. Koizinski, sorry. Excuse me. Yes, I did say this afternoon during my commentary that I was going to ride this evening, but I struggled a little bit during commentary this afternoon with my my chest. It's still gunked up, and so I decided that maybe it wasn't sensible to be climbing hills on a bike when you're not 100% or even 90% or even 80%. So I decided I'd stick with commentating instead. Nice to see Ian's catching Furman, so if they can work together, OTR and my old team, Team 3R. I mean, the real excitement for me in this ride, let's fund it back. Now, I think Anderson is Anderson, currently the Lantern Rouge. Of course, you've got me, but I don't count. So, as we see, Casper now has got a bit of a decent gap on Feldball. And this could be, I did say that when it hit the steeper section, Casper would possibly take off. And once again, I'm not saying I told you so, but that wasn't a very difficult tactic to call out. And sure enough, I'm right. And Casper's now going to go for a solo win to the finish. I don't see his teammate catching him, even though you can see his teammates. You can see Casper is having to go threshold here to stay away from his teammate. But how long he can keep this going for, who knows? I would like to see Casper in the pain cave room with everybody else, along with the likes of John Beams and Lundqvist, who have already got their webcams going and shown us their climbing techniques, their pain. And if you're listening, Casper, it would be nice if you could do the same, lad. Get yourself into the Zoom room on the ZMS stream, because I'm calling out more riders. I want to see more riders doing so that not just me, but the viewers can watch you all side by side and see the different suffering and the different techniques that you use. Certainly when climbing, we have climbers that, as we saw this afternoon, we have climbers that are grinders, like Nick Greenosh, and we have climbers that are spinners. So, like Henrik Mads, a spinner. I don't know. With a cadence of 75, I wouldn't exactly call you a spinner. That's sort of like what I call mid-range. The spinners are the 80-plus riders. The really good spinners are the 90-plus riders. Decent heart rate here, but he's keeping it steady. And he's working really, really hard. Still above threshold, so really working hard here. And 185-meter gap, so this is certainly going to be a solo win. And what Casper's doing here, and the fact that he's going into threshold and staying in threshold, Casper's going for a fast time. He wants the overall win on the day, and we'll come back to him and see how he does. Catch up with Casper a little bit later. Feldball in second place, and Feldball 300 meters behind the riders behind. There's a possibility he could get caught for second place. Casper's definitely not going to get caught, but there's a possibility Feldball, now that he's been dropped by Casper, could do. I don't know. Not beyond the realms of possibility. And James Melville, we know, comes strong towards the end of stages. And there is James. Really class rider. So don't count out James for that second spot at the moment. Gavash is not far behind James as well. So we could see. I mean, I just assumed that Feldbau would work with his countrymen, Hedidem, and it was a given they would be 1, 2, 1 and 2, but that's definitely not going to be the case, or might not be the case. I won't say definitely, because I do think if these lads push each other on, if Gaff pushes James, they could close the gap. Good riding. Who's that? Blinksgard making a run as well. Where's Tony? There's Tony in 7th. I mean, Tony's not out of it either. He's got to try and stay with them. This is why I said he didn't want to be doing all the work earlier on the lower slopes when they were letting him do pushing on the front, because they'd just kick him when it came to later in the climb, and that's exactly what's happened. So Keith warned him of this. So did I. You've got to be smart when racing. Really have. It's not just about who's the strongest rider. A lot of the time it's about who's the smartest rider. Sadly, it looks like Barnett has been dropped off. He's 230 meters behind the 5 riders in front. So I think Barnett's out of the running for the podium spot. But I think any one of these riders could, and look, Tony's getting across. Let's just see what's happening in front of him again. Klinksgard. I'm staying near the front of the race, folks, because this is where the excitement is at the moment. Yes, we're going to have races within races a bit lower down the field. But for me, this is where the real excitement is happening as we're watching. They've pulled back Feldball to 187 meters now, 186 meters now. So they are closing the gap and they are going to catch him. I'm confident they are going to catch him, unless he's taking a breather and then he suddenly takes off again. But to my mind, they're not. Casper is still in threshold, and that's a long time to be in threshold. Yeah, he's dropping below, just dropped below there. But he's spending an awful long time in threshold. Can he keep it going to the finish? We watch Gav taking over the front and pushing this group along, and they are pulling back. So any one of these riders could take over that second spot, because I do think that once they catch Feldball, they'll leave him, they'll drop him. They're going that strong. And we know Gavash is a class act along with James. Well, all these riders are. Linksgard, we've seen Vasik as well put in superb effort. So if I had to pick a rider out of this small group, it would be James. But we'll see. This is the fight for second place, folks. They're going to pull Feldball back very, very soon. The hope is that they can pull him back on the climb, because if Feldball manages to get to the easier ground, he may well stay away from them with a 100-meter gap. If they can pull that back on the climb, then yeah, they will pull him in. Let's just check and see what's happening with the front Casper. So still pushing it along. The gap's closing up slightly. So perhaps Casper was right. But is he going to pay for this above threshold effort? You know, anybody that goes into threshold for such a long period of time, countryman, and 96 meters now is the lead he's got. How close is he? Just looking at him. No, there's still enough climbing for the guys behind to catch him. I think they're going to do so. So, a little bit of excitement. We'll work his way down the field and see what's happening with there's Tony, and then we'll see what's happening with Paul, Gordon, and Nick. Hello, teammate. Sadly, Greg Barnett is not going to be fighting out the top spots along with the rest of the crew. Fuller here. And these riders are all now fighting for individual place. I don't know what the gap. Oh, I do know what the gap is. Paul's 290 meters behind the rider in front. So, he's currently in 12th place. Might be able to better that if he can catch the rider in front, but that's a tough ask, pulling back 300 meters at this stage of the climb. But the question is, can he stay ahead? Who's he got? He's got with him. He's got Walker. He's got Johnson. I mean, it does look like the OTR boys are working nicely together. We got Baggy from SDW, but he's 90 meters behind, so perhaps they've showed him. The question here is, can these two OTR boys get rid of Johnson? Is Johnson going to do a number on them? We shall see. Paul's a very canny rider. He knows exactly where he's going to do the push, try and leave Johnson. Okay, let's work his way a bit further back. There's Jan van Bez. Vasio. And he's 22 meters behind the rider in front, but pegging it, so could possibly be fighting for that space. We look at the riders possibly duking it out for a top 20 finish. Parks is currently in 20th place, but these two other riders with him, including James Brown. We'll see. Chris Horton. Chris. My teammate Gordon Jackson, along with Paul. But it's nice to see these two. They did say they were going to work together and ride together, and it's lovely to see them doing that. So well done, Paul, for staying with Gordon. Well done, Gordon, for pulling him along. Don't think you'll mind me saying that. Good riding, folks. It makes sense, really, if if you're about the same level, to work with a teammate. Well done. Very little distance between Ploiter and Wagstaff, so those two could see a swap around there. And then Newton, 100 meters behind, and Godos, further 100 meters behind. And look, I'm going to need to get back to the front very quickly. Very quickly, check on the riders a bit further behind. Being quick here, folks, because I want to get back to the front, make sure I don't miss any of the action. There's Anderson, Lantern. So back up the front, 1.7 kilometers to go, and Casper's taking it out again to 890 meters, give or take. So Casper's going to take the win today. No surprise there, really. Fully expected him to. The question is, can he cover this last 1.5 kilometers, 1.6 kilometers in 4 minutes? And I think the answer is yes, he can. I think we're looking at the winning time here today. And he's got to thank his teammate, his countryman, for helping out, as we saw with John and Henrik this afternoon, two of them working together. Because on the lower slopes, there was no doubt about it. They were both working together, pushing the pace. And I did say I thought Casper had a chance of overtaking John's time, but it would only be by seconds. I don't think he's going to take minutes out of John's time. And the question is, can he actually beat it? It's going to be a close thing. We're only looking at seconds. We're not looking at minutes, folks. He's got 1.2 to go, and he's got 3 minutes to do it in. So it's going to be close. The good thing in his favour is that the terrain gets easier very soon. We actually finish with, yes, it is still a thrill, but it's much easier uphill. As you can see, the gradient now, it's actually coming down now to 5%, and it gets even better. So yeah, he's on the faster section of the ride. 1 kilometer to go. Yeah, and 3 minutes to do it in. So he's going to do this. No two ways about it. This is going to be the fastest time of the day, but only by seconds. He might gain 30 seconds if he's lucky. Might be less than that. Depends if he puts in a real big sprint now towards the end, and it doesn't look like he's got it in his leg, although he's above threshold now. So we'll see. This is a good ride by Casper. I'm going to stay with him, folks, till he comes into the finish. But then you can see behind, in fact, I say that, I'm just going to show you. Behind there, we've got James as caught Feldball, along with Klingsgaard. My money is on James for second place. But we shall see. We shall go to that battle in a minute. I want to watch Casper coming in. He's got 600 meters left to ride. So Casper's going to take the win. But I'll bet he didn't expect the riders behind to be doing what they've done and overtaking his countryman. Although Feldbauer, looking at that and the effort he's putting in, he's not out of it. So here's Casper going for the win, and he's going for the overall win here, folks. He's going for the fastest time. Let's see what he gets. 300 meters to go. And he could well take a minute, you know. I said it was only going to be seconds. Could well take a minute here. Let's have a look. It's getting very close. Very close. Yeah, he's going to take just over a minute, I think. So that's a fabulous ride. Here we go. What's he going to get? 25, 26? Whoa, a minute. He's got a minute on these riders. On John Beams. So he's the race winner, Casper, with a 53.34. James Melville under the 1 kilometer to go kite, leading them out. Feldball, I feel, has got a good kick on him. So James needs to make sure he doesn't let him get on his wheel. Keep him off his wheel, and that's what he's doing. James is a canny rider. He's putting in a threshold effort. Make sure he doesn't get on his wheel. He's got 15 meters on him. Can he keep that? Because he needs to not let him get on his wheel and draft him past to the line. Yeah, James knows what he's doing here. Very, very good ride. I did say he would probably take second place, and I have to say I'm glad to be proved correct. Fantastic ride by James. He's actually opening up the gap to the rider behind, so he's making sure he's not going to get caught. 600 meters to go with a 50-meter gap, so he's got this. He's got second place. Great ride, James. Great ride. I'm going to zoom out, see if I can zoom out slightly so that we can catch the riders behind. Not too far, otherwise we're going to lose them. And as we watch James, 380 meters to go. Let's see if we can just swing it round a little bit. Can we? Yeah, we can. There we go. So we get a more of an overhead shot of James coming into the line. What's he got? Yeah, he's got a lovely gap now, 100-meter gap. So an easy second. I'm saying easy, but yeah, a relatively comfortable second place for James. And then we'll quickly shift to because there's going to be a battle behind for third place as James goes over the line now. There we go. Now we've got Klingsgaard trying to do a number on Feldball as well. And can he do so? Let's have a look. 25. Yeah, Klingsgaard gets third. Feldball in fourth, and Versick is going to get fifth place. Actually like that. Change it. There we go. There's Versick coming in for fifth place. And Tony Simmons gets an excellent sixth place. Well done, Tony. Gavash coming in seventh. And then we've got a few 100 meters then, so I'll change the view, folks. So Gavash in seventh, and then we've got a colour coming in try and change the view slightly. There we go. Now zoom in. That's better. Zoom in a little bit and catch the riders individually. So we've got a colour with 600 meters to go, and Barnett is not going to catch him, as you can see. So Barnett is set, but he's still getting his top 10 place. So yeah. But what a fabulous ride. And I will check on the time, folks. I will check on the time of our winner, Casper. But I believe it was a 53:30, which is exactly 1 minute faster than the winning time this afternoon by John Beams, which was a 54:30. So superb riding. Really good riding. Now, I am going to try and stay with the action all the way to the finish here for every rider that we've got coming in. Let's, I hope anyway, unless we have a long time to wait, and then obviously I'm going to get back to my family. So a colour coming into the finish here. This finish is a little bit awkward with the way it goes round there, but we see, there we go, I see him going over the line. Here's Mr. Barnett, but this turn at the finish here causing problems from the for the shot just here, but we can still see them going over the line. There he goes. Accounts. So this is our top 10 rider, last of the 10. And it's been a good race. Much the same as this afternoon, where we saw two riders just dominate off the front. But it was fantastic to see James, Klingsgaard and Simmons and the rest of the crew working so well together to pull back the second place rider and actually overtake him. So really, really good riding there, particularly by Klingsgaard as well to pull that third place spot. But James isn't out of this tour yet, you know. He's the current holder of the title from last year, and he's definitely not out of this tour yet. Yeah. Gavash, a good ride, mate. A good ride. But Gavash is the class act, Tony. Come on. We know he's a class act. Yeah, gap closed if nothing else. No, be fair to yourself, Tony. You did a really good job, mate. Well done, Nakowns. 10th spot for Nakowns with Stanner not that far behind. So you did well to hold off this fella. of our veteran racers in Category F. And here's Paul Pudell from OTR, 12th spot. So he's managed to pull away from that little group he was with, from his teammate, Mr. Walker and Baggy. Now he's got a kilometre to go and he's got a 140-metre gap. So this should be a safe 12th place for Paul. You never know, but yeah, I think he's going to maintain this. Too experienced to get caught on the line, that's for sure. So good ride, Paul. I mean, there's Baggy and Walker and Johnson behind. And we'll come back to that battle. We'll watch Paul come in and then we'll watch the battle behind, because there's nothing in these three, as you can see. And who's your money on out of these three? I'm hoping the OTR boy gets it, but there you go, I'm biased. Of course I would be, because that's my team. So 750 metres for Paul. Looking nice and smooth as well. Paul's a little bit like me as a grinder. He has a low cadence. Tends to grind up the hills. And you can see what I was saying about the slope. It eases off now. We're 1% now, and it evens off even more. So it is a fast run into the finish if you've got anything left. I mean, Paul's just taking it steady here. He's still putting out decent wattage, but he's not killing himself at this stage, because there's no need for him to do so. He's already got a 300-metre gap on the riders behind. Still putting out decent wattage as well. So good finish. Nice strong finish. Never in danger of losing this 12th place in this last kilometre. There he goes over the line. So now the excitement is going to be these three. Who's your money on? Like I say, my hope is that my OTR teammate can sort of like catch the wheel here. Stay on his wheel, don't go past. No, don't go past yet. Don't go past yet. Wait until you're about 60 metres. Now hit it. Come on. Hit it, hit it, hit it. Come on. Come on, slide past. Yes, come on. Yes! No, I didn't quite make it. I don't think so. Check on that later. Good racing. Quite often you can have a lot of fun, with the riders further down the order. The racers within races. For me, as much, if not more exciting than the places up front. Watch Van Bus coming in. So then we've got Spencer to come in about 200 metres after we watch Baruch coming in. Then we got a little bit of a gap for the riders behind. We could be around for a few more minutes yet, lads, lasses. Johnson's asking how to report a rider. What's the problem, Johnson? I haven't seen anything that I want to report just yet. We'll see. Would he say now to report a rider? Don't understand that. It's been a hard race, yeah. Watch Spencer coming into the line. There he goes. Then we got Parks. You're going to have to hang around for a little while if you're going to stay with me. I do hope you will stay with me. And I'm back tomorrow in my ZMS role along with Damon. We're covering the lunchtime slot again on tomorrow's stage. So it's been a busy weekend for me, which is one of the reasons why, if the latter riders are a long way behind, I will probably end this broadcast a little bit early. I'm back again tomorrow at the lunchtime slot, and I may even be covering tomorrow evening slot if we get what we've had today, and that's um, you know, two different groups of riders like Casper riding in the evening instead of in the daytime. Because the night stage has definitely been a bit exciting in terms of, I'm sure some of the riders that rode this afternoon have been watching this stream, see what happened and whether they could hold on to the places. And I'll probably chat with a couple of them a bit later on. I do have a good rapport with many of the riders. So, and if you're not one of them that's got my message me on Facebook, on Messenger, you're more than welcome to do so. Feel free to send me a direct message. And often, if I get something wrong in my commentary, like I did with Nick Greenhouse, Nick was very kind to direct message me and point out my mistake, which I corrected this afternoon. So, it's nice to have a rapport with the riders. I try not to make mistakes in my commentary when speaking about the riders, so I have a lot of respect for certainly the top. Well, I've got a lot of respect for the majority of the riders, and certainly the top riders, because of the training and the efforts they have to put in. My only wish, as I've said on numerous occasions, and it's something which I push quite a lot, and that's, I want more riders to get webcams and show themselves on screen. Here's James Brown from OTR, because it's exciting for the viewers to watch, but it's also great to commentate on, and it gives me something else to chat about as well. If I'm pointing out your technique in the Zoom room, like I did with John Casper, John Henrik, and a few others this afternoon, it just gives us more. It's a more professional stream, I think, when we can actually see the riders and call out the efforts they're making. And sometimes the races, don't go the way that the racers themselves, the stages rather, don't go the way the racers themselves imagine it's going to go. For example, when I spoke with Johnny earlier, he said it didn't. This afternoon's stage where him and Henrik Mard broke away on their own up the front very, very early on. He said he didn't expect that. That wasn't what he was expecting from the stage. So it caught him by surprise. But John thankfully had the fortitude and the common sense to keep it going with Henrik once they got the gap, and they never let the chasing group get a sniff. And that's much the same as what Casper has done this evening. Casper never gave any of the chasers a sniff at catching him. So, yeah, some good racing. We watch Horton coming in. There we go, over the line. And this is another one of my teammates, Gordon Jackson, over the line. Whoops. Zoomed out instead of zooming in. Whoa, as Paul just gets him on the line. No, Gordon's having none of it. No, you're not doing that to me, Paul, he says. Well done, lads. Good ride, Paul Nichols. You worked well with Gordon today. Very good ride as we watch Ployter coming in. Been a good ride from him. He's pulled up nicely up the field. And this is Richard Wagstaff. He's done well as well. Well, I I hate to sort of like single out individual riders because it's exciting to watch a lot of the riders further down the field, as well as the riders, that are sort of like obviously fighting for GC. You can have as much fun watching riders further down the field. So well done, Richard. Good finish, mate. This is Miss or Mrs. Newton. I don't know her first name off the top of my head. I think it's Joe, but I could be wrong. So good ride, Joe, if it is Joe. Very well done. And I'm pretty sure this is Joe Dose. And look at the wattage that she's putting out. She's a really strong rider. A well-earned top 30 finish. Good ride. Van Look, who will take the 30th spot. Not going to get caught now by Furman. So 700 meters and a good lead. So Andy's putting in a big effort here. Look, threshold effort. Make sure that he doesn't get caught. And it's nice to see Newton, messaging Dulcie and saying good ride. That's nice to see the two ladies. Yeah, really nice to see. But we do have a good community. One of the reasons why I enjoyed so much coming over here from Swift when I started up Team 3R here on RGT, building the community, well, building the Team 3R presence. But, I really enjoyed the community right from the off. And I made some very good friends. The likes of Riley Harvey and, you know, I did. I made some good friends in the early days. So I like to think that good ride, Van Look. I like to think that all the effort that's been put in has now come to fruition and been worth it because I think I've got a good following in terms of my commentary and the streams. Certainly the ones I do for ZMS, I've been told we've got a lot of followers that actually like my commentary. So yeah, I enjoy it, and it keeps me busy. Without cycling, I don't know what I'd do. Cycling has been part of my life for so long now. I'm absolutely addicted. Even when I'm poorly, I still think about it, want to be part of it. So Furman coming in, taking 31st slot. And then we've got Williams, the Welshman. Nicely done. From Jay Dosey, killer ride. What's a nice girl like me doing on a ride from hell? Oh, lovely comment. Yeah, it's a tough ride, but this is nothing compared to what you've got coming up in the second week, ladies and gents. There's some really tough stages to come. Yeah, I mean tomorrow's um has got a pretty horrible climb on it. It's nothing. It's not as long as today's climbing, but it's not as much ascent. But it is steep. I do know that. And this has been an effort from start to finish. I mean, you got the relatively mild start for just about a kilometre, but then it's just been a huge effort. Yeah, Ploiter did do a good ride. I admit he. I was hoping that the two ladies could hold on to him for a little while, but he must have very quickly pulled away, and he pulled out 2 minutes on them. So he did do a very good ride. I'm still gunked up. My chest is still very, very heavy. So I'm rather glad. And by the end of a broadcast, I really start to feel it. So I'm rather glad that I didn't decide to try and ride. I'm still not well enough. I will be back for. I will be back riding, but in the meantime, I'm just enjoying being back doing the commentating. We watch Williams putting in a bit of a fresh old effort to finish. Well done, sir. I love to see that when riders give it everything towards it. Look, there you go, 6.6 watt kilos. Good finish. Very good finish. Probably listening. Nice finish. So, what we got? 1.5 kilometers to Dyson. Um, and I think Anderson is the last rider, and she's almost 5 kilometers behind. So we've got a little while to wait yet. What time is it? 2. Actually, got here. Wondering whether I can stay with it. So coming up to the red kite, the 1 kilometer to go banner. Dewson should pass under it just around this, yeah, just around this bend. You can see it up ahead. So this is what we call the Flamme Rouge, or the red banner. 1 kilometer to go. And riders love to see this, really do, because they know that the suffering's going to end. What, another 3 minutes, maybe a little bit more, then the suffering ends. Ian Hurst from 3R. let's just check on the. We'll make sure we don't miss Dewson going over the line, but let's have a look and see who's the last rider on the road and what we've got to go. Dinsky, Elliott, Underberg, and I think Anderson's the last rider. 5.6 kilometers. I'm probably although oh no, I'm sorry, Anderson, but just looking at you're struggling here and looking at the speed here, I'm going to be hanging around almost another hour. So I can't afford to do that. So I am going to have to. I think what we'll do, folks, is we'll we got? We'll watch Mr. Hurst coming into the finish, and then sadly I'm going to wrap up the broadcast because I am possibly doing another 2 broadcasts tomorrow, and I do have to spend some time with my family. So sadly, yes, thanks for the wave, Ian. Sadly, I do like to. We'll watch Doosan coming into the finish. He's got 500 meters. But I do usually like to stay to the very end and watch the very last riders. And most of you watching my streams will know that I do that. But it's Saturday night. I've not spent much of the day with my family because I did the broadcast this afternoon. So I'm going to call it today once we watch Ian Hurst coming in, the 3-hour rider. And then I apologise to the riders a little bit further down the field. But I'm going to have to wrap it up. And more so, I need to finish off my tea because I only had a small snack prior to coming up here and starting the broadcast. A little bit peckish as well. But a really good ride, a really good stage this evening. Asper taking the overall. So Ian's got 720 meters, and then we'll cut out to the thanks for watching screen and call it a day for another wave. So Ian's probably listening to me actually. I was a member of Team 3R when I came across from Swift, and I've been with Team 3R for a lot of years. I mean, we were one of the biggest presences, if not the biggest presence on Swift all those years ago. And just prior to me leaving, we were getting 500 plus riders on our group rides. So putting a lot of work over there for a very, very good team. And when I came across here, I spent the first 12 months building the Team 3R presence. And then it was time to hand over the reins to the racing side of Team 3R. No Pins Race 3R, which Matt Looker has brought across, and they're doing the racing now. I mean, Team 3R are still racing, but it's really nice to see Matt doing so well with the 3R guys. And Ian's giving us lots of waving here. So he's obviously a happy guy. Good ride, Ian. And nice to see you again, mate. We were good teammates. Okay, and that's a wrap, folks. So we'll transition across. And let's just see if I can't get that across and transition it. That should now be showing on screen here. Okay, I'm going to wind it up there, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Stay safe, everybody. And we'll catch you tomorrow when we cover stage 7. Probably on the lunchtime slot and the evening slot. And on that note, I'm going to sign off and we'll see you tomorrow.